1 month ago today, where were you at this time?
Probably
Probably? You were there.
in school.
Do you remember what class it
Yep, I was in fourth period Spanish,
was? Why do you say fourth period Spanish?
periods 11:05.
But you don't know independently of your watch that you were in Spanish. Do you remember that particular day, or are you just saying probably because it is this time?
Probably because
Right. We all do that. We all do that. I know I had Honey Nut Cheerios for breakfast. I remember breakfast this morning, but I probably had Honey Nut Cheerios for breakfast the last 12,000 breakfasts of my life. I love Honey Nut Cheerios. Do I recall June 27th, 1972? I probably had Honey Nut Cheerios. If they had that back then, I know it must have been Cheerios. I don't think they had Honey Nut back then, because I've been eating them since I can recall. I think, I don't know, I don't have independent knowledge. I'm not aware exactly what I had. I make assumptions. We all do. Our brains are not filming as we go by. Like, I see you. I don't go like this. Filming, taking all this. Shoes, pants, shirt, glasses. My shoes. We don't do that. We go through our lives and we see things all the time. We hear things. Things that people say things from the side, from the front, from behind. We hear noises, we turn. Things are happening to us, we're very dynamic. Even if you say, life's boring. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of things that you're inputting into your brain. We have a problem, though, recalling them. Have you ever had a time where, say, you get together at a large family gathering, say Thanksgiving or Christmas or a birthday party, and somebody's telling a funny story about something that happened, and you recall it, but you recall it slightly differently? Right? Yeah, you might recall something that happened in 2000, you think it happened in 2009, but somebody swears it was 2008. And they say it was the summertime, but you think it was May. But that person thinks it's summertime because it was warm out, people were wearing short sleeves. Or they say, they get it out of order. Yeah, it happens. Why? Because from their recollection, they're recalling what they experienced, but it is brought up from like their hard drive into their brain, and given out to people, but it doesn't mean that it's done in an exact order. We're not like a computer where we say, okay, boot it up, bring up some Word document that I was working on, and I can see exactly what I did. We can't do that because we're human. We all see things from different perspectives. So you have to be aware that you have an ethical obligation whenever you testify in court, if you're going to be a law enforcement officer, to testify truthfully. If you testify truthfully and to the best of your recollection, and it might be inaccurate, you didn't do anything wrong. If you start making things up, then it's wrong. Then it becomes perjury. Now, at the end of the session today, I'm going to tell you what happened to a friend of mine who lost everything. True story. We're going to talk about perspective and viewing something. This is a intersection, okay? This is my drawing of an intersection, and you can see that I've got like first grade level of artistic ability, okay? This is a building, okay, and here's two lots over here. It's north, south, east, west, okay? There's a building here. This car is driving from west to east. This car is driving from, say, northeast to southwest. Here's an intersection. There's a stop sign right here, okay? Who is supposed to yield at that stop sign? Who gets the right of way?
Aren't they all supposed to stop? But no, he's supposed to stop
Which
first,
guy?
right?
This guy or this guy?
That guy.
He's supposed to stop, right?
Yeah, to
Okay.
make sure that he's not coming.
Right.
And
this-
then, like, I know sometimes, well, no, that's when there's two stop signs, but then he lets him go and he goes.
Right. So you should always be careful going through intersections, sure, definitely. But this person doesn't have to stop. This person does because they have a stop sign. So you would expect, right, that this person would stop and this person would go through. So if there's an accident here, smash, And you see now, this car over here and this car, now they're like this in the intersection.
Whose fault is it?
This car right here, who's hit this car, he's the car that was right here.
Okay.
This car was the one that was going south.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so now they're like, they're shaped like a T, the sideways T. What do you think happened?
He didn't stop.
He didn't stop. Okay. Now, there's 3 witnesses here. Okay? This is a witness, college student, you know, busy, running around. She's getting into her car. That's a car, okay? I don't know if you can tell that. That's my version of a car. Okay? Looks like mine. This person's getting into the car. Okay? Just humoring. Okay? This is a car. She's getting into the car. She is not looking at the intersection like, no, she's getting into a car. Okay, she's looking down, she's looking at the purse, she's looking for the key, the door. She's thinking about school, thinking about work, thinking about her boyfriend, thinking about term papers and things like that. This person is over here. Oh, and also there's a car in front of her. Yeah, this high.
Mhm.
This person here has got a good view, right? Unobstructed view. This person has an obstructed view, this person has an unobstructed view. But this person is a 90-year-old widow.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she's a 90-year-old widow. She still wears black, even though her husband died like 25 years ago. She's from the old country, so she'll always wear black until she herself dies. She's 90. Okay.
Does she
She's
have
supposed
her
to wear
glasses
glasses. What's that?
on? I was just about to ask, does she have her glasses?
No, she doesn't have her glasses on. Unfortunately, she doesn't have her glasses on. That would be great. Speaking from somebody who wears glasses, I perceive things differently with glasses than I do without. When I have to read, I used to have the eyes of an eagle until law school, and then they kind of just deteriorated. Because I do an awful lot of reading. But I noticed that the letters were getting kind of fuzzy on the page. So if I look at a written page without my glasses, I perceive fuzz, a lot of fuzz. White, black, fuzz. If I put my glasses on, I see letters. I see you guys. If I put my glasses on, I'll perceive you differently. You might have a freckle, say over here. I can't see it, unless it was huge, you know, the size of a quarter. But I might put my glasses on and say, oh yeah, he's got freckles. But if you ask me, that's why, did that guy have freckles, officer? I don't know. I can't tell if he has freckles or not. I don't know. I perceive him without freckles right now. With my glasses on, I can perceive he has freckles or not. So this lady here, she's 90. She's up high, right, off the ground. She's in the second floor, looking out a window. She's farther away from this person, right? But she doesn't have her glasses. We've got witness 3. Witness 3 is 40 years old, 40-year-old guy. He's going to work. He works down the block down here. He's walking to work. He's not staring at the intersection. No, he's just walking down the street. Nobody sits there and tries to visually recall. It would be ridiculous to try to sit there and stare at everybody. People wonder, like, you have mental illness or not. Why are you staring at me? It doesn't make any sense. So he's walking down the street, thinking about school, thinking about work, thinking about family, thinking about mortgage payments, bills, whatever. And suddenly he sees this car driving, but he's probably not paying attention to that particular car. He hears boom and looks slightly, alters his line of vision slightly because he's looking down here, alters his line of vision, and he sees this, the effects of this crash. Nobody is expecting this crash to take place. Everybody's doing something else. Now, there's going to be a lawsuit because everybody's, people are injured, and this person's here going to sue the driver over here for going through the intersection, get some money for pain and suffering and physical damage and damage to the car. And this person's attorney contacts these 3 people because these 3 people are listed on the police accident report as witnesses. Would you expect that their testimony is going to be the same?
No.
No, definitely not. Why would you not expect the testimony to be the same? Why would you expect the testimony to be different?
Different perspectives.
Yeah, this person was closer, and she's ground level. This person's farther away, but upper level. This person's really far in the distance. So you have three, people in different locations viewing things. This person views the world as a 21-year-old college student. This person views the world as an 80-year-old without glasses. This person is viewing the world as a 50-year-old man walking down the street to work, whatever. We see things differently. We can all see the exact same thing. It's like, anybody watch the last Super Bowl? Remember that catch the guy, was it Mannheim made over his shoulder? And people were like, oh, no, he was out, he was out. Those are people from Boston. All the New Yorkers were like, hell yeah, he's in. We see the exact same thing, but depending on our perspective, we interpret it differently. These three people are experiencing this. Now, this person gets called to testify. If their testimony is exactly the same as this person's or this person's, there's a lot of lying going on, because it wouldn't make sense for three very different people in three very different perspectives to come up with the exact same testimony. That's when you know somebody's lying. If you are at a trial and you testify as to one thing and your partner testifies slightly differently, that's fine, perfectly fine. Because if there's differences, that means that the person's probably telling you the truth. Because if you are responding to a robbery or a burglary, and you go into, say a burglary, you go to the front of the house, and somebody else, your partner goes to the back of the house, and you catch the person, you're going to have different perspectives of the crime. If there's two cops, one cop's running down the street over here, another cop's running down the street 30 feet away, and it's a shooting, they're going to see different things, just from the perspective. There's nothing wrong with disagreement between witnesses, especially police officers, and expect that as a police officer of civilians who see certain things happen. You saw a crime occur a couple of minutes ago. We're going to talk about that in a little while. I doubt you'll come up with the exact same, descriptions. Now, because you see things differently. If you have something that is so doctored that everybody's saying the same thing, there's something wrong. Somebody is lying. Okay? The truth is somewhere in between three different recollections. This person says, "Oh yeah, I saw that car crash." Well, what did you see? "Oh yeah, this guy went right through the stop sign and smashed this poor lady's car." You saw the whole thing. "Yes, I did." He went through the stop sign. Yeah. So you saw him go through the stop sign. Yeah. That means you must have saw him before he went through the stop sign. Yeah. And then you saw him go through the stop sign, and then you saw him hit the car. Yeah. Why were you watching that particular car? It doesn't make any sense. It'd be like staring at one person. You don't do that. If this guy's testimony is, "I saw this car go through this, over here, I saw it go through the stop sign, and then I saw it hit this car." Well, what were you doing? "I was fishing in my purse for my car keys." So you wrote them down. What are you, staring at the intersection? Looking for your wallet? No! Doesn't make any sense. That would be ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. So when you see this kind of testimony, this person is filling in blanks. This person hears the crash and looks up. And by the time the crash occurs and you hear the noise, this person's already through the intersection. This person is making a logical leap by saying, if this person is through the intersection and hits this car this way, they must have gone through the stop sign. But they didn't see it. So if I asked you, what'd you have for breakfast, and you say, well, I think I had this. Well, if you say you think you had it, that's fine. You say, oh, I know I definitely had it. Why? Because I have it all 365 days of the year. And you don't alter anything you ever had. You start to wonder about the reliability of somebody's testimony.
We do have one more speaker for you while you're eating your ice cream and enjoying the shade and the weather out here. Lieutenant Johnson from the New Haven Police Department. I'll let her introduce herself to you. So, thank you.
Hello. Hi. Can you move up though? Because I feel like I'm a half a mile away from you. So if you guys can all come up. Come on. Over here. All right. So just a little bit about myself. I'm born and raised in Milford, Connecticut, which is about 15 minutes from here. I went to the University of Alabama, where I got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Took me about 3 times to change my major before I decided upon that. I came back to Connecticut. I got my master's degree from the University of New Haven in criminal justice. While I was going to get my master's degree, I still was kind of undecided about what I wanted to do. I was getting in correctional counseling at the University of New Haven, and I did an internship at the New Haven Police Department, and during my master's degree, we had a speaker come to my class who was Nick Pastor, who at the time was the police chief in New Haven. And I was a single mother with no full-time job, getting my master's degree. And I asked them during one of the breaks when they were hiring. And they said that they were hiring at that time. So the next day I put my application in, and within 2 months I was hired with the New Haven Police Department. Still at that time, really didn't know if this is what I wanted to do with my life. I was 22 years old at the time. So from there I went into the academy, and about 4 months later I graduated from the police academy. I did about 4.5 years in patrol. I then became a detective, and I was in the narcotics unit for about 2 years as a detective, and then I was promoted to sergeant, where I went to stayed in the narcotics division for about 6 months. I'm a little nervous. So after that, about 6 months later, I went back to patrol on midnights as a supervisor. And in 2008, I became a lieutenant. I was in the training division at the time, and then about 3 months later, I became in charge of the Special Investigations Unit in the Detective Bureau. At that time, the Special Investigations Unit was investigating sexual assaults, domestic violence, missing persons, and in New Haven, it's a very, very active unit. We investigate about 300 cases a year. Probably 75% of those are sexual assaults, and about 75% of the sexual assaults are against children. During that time, I don't know if any of you have heard of the East Coast Rapist. Has anyone heard of the East Coast Rapist? So the East Coast Rapist was a perpetrator who committed 12 sexual assaults that were linked by DNA from Virginia to Rhode Island. And in Connecticut, he committed 1 sexual assault that we know of that was linked by DNA. And he had gone, his DNA was all linked, but his DNA was not in the system. So we knew, who it was. We just didn't have the person to go with his DNA because his DNA had never been in the system. Probably in about 2009 or so, a joint task force was formed, and we began working on with officials from Virginia and other agencies who had other sexual assaults by the East Coast Rapists, and we began trying to really figure out who he was, added resources. In Virginia, they actually had a detective who their sole mission was to find who the East Coast rapist was. Last year in 2011, in January, we would get a whole bunch of names, and then we kind of would run them out to see if he could have been the East Coast rapist or not. We got a name. We did a national billboard, along the East Coast, billboard campaign for the East Coast rapist, because there were some sketches for that and some information. We did that on a Monday night. They came, an anonymous tip came in from Maryland about the name of the East Coast rapist who ended up living in New Haven. We then put a 24/7 detail out to follow him around. For 2 days, they tried to locate him. They knew that he had a court date on that Thursday for a minor charge, and while they were following him around, he went out and he smoked a cigarette. He threw his cigarette on the ground. We had detectives pick up the cigarette without him knowing. We rushed it to the state lab, and within 24 hours, he had been linked to the East Coast rapist. So we then, obviously, Virginia came up with their warrant. We added our warrant for his sexual assault that occurred in New Haven, and he was apprehended. And like I said, 12 are linked by DNA, but probably many unreported or not linked. He's committed. He's been since sent to Virginia to face his charges in Virginia before he comes back up to Connecticut. So after I was in the Special Investigation Unit, beginning July of last year, I went to Major Crimes, and I was in charge of Major Crimes and also the Special Investigations Unit. And Major Crimes investigates every other crime: homicides, robberies, burglaries. And then in the end of last year, I was put in charge of the whole Detective Bureau. Last year in the city of New Haven, we had 34 homicides, which was a huge uptick in homicides for our city. And then this year, I think we're on number 8, which is a dramatic decrease in homicides. I did that until April. In April, I was transferred, and I am now the second in charge of the patrol division, which is the largest division in our department. And we have probably about, right now with staffing, probably about 250 officers. City of New Haven has 10 policing districts, and the officers are split amongst them. I'd say one of the biggest concerns for an officer in New Haven are the domestic violence calls. We get over 4,000 calls for service for domestic violence a year. By far, they are the most volatile situation an officer will ever respond to. Everyone thinks about drugs and guns and the excitement of all that, but by far, officers will respond to more domestic violence calls in their career and get hurt or killed more often than any other call for service. I just wanted to say that as you figure out if this is what you want to do with your career or not, that just so you know, every day is a different day as a police officer. Oftentimes our work goes unrecognized by the public and by the people that you're even helping, but you have to love it. If you don't love being a police officer, then you really need to find a different avenue of work, because it's hard work, it's usually unappreciated, but by far every day you have the opportunity to help someone, and a lot of jobs are not like that. So I thank you for the opportunity to come in here. I will answer any questions if you have any. I know it's been a long day, but does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you.
So there are still members of law enforcement are here, so if you want to talk to them individually, you have certain questions before you leave today, please feel free to do so while they're still here. But Alberta's Magnet College, the Office of Admission, and everybody that was here today, we thank you for coming up today. Your parents should be coming pretty soon, or if you drove by yourself, you're more than welcome to head out when you're ready. So we thank you for coming today. If you have any questions, feel free to stop by and see one of us. So, thank you all.